Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to have you here tonight. We are going to be showing you a few slides and talking you through all of the material or an abbreviated version of the material that we've been presenting to you through our listserv. I'm going to share my screen, but before I do, we have Superintendent Mullaney with us tonight, as well as our assistant principal here at CFB, Mrs. Malloy, to join me for the presentation. Throughout most of the presentation, you will see the slides. We'll start here with this, and then we will go into the slides. At the end, we'll come back together and try to answer additional questions. So I'm going to share my screen now. So please bear with me if things don't work out exactly the way they're supposed to immediately. So we're here tonight for our presentation of the fully in-person learning model. And again, we just thank you very much for joining us tonight. Again, Superintendent Mullaney, myself, and Mrs. Malloy will be presenting information to you. Mr. Mullaney, or Superintendent Mullaney, if you would like to say a few words.
Sure, thanks, Ms. Django. I'm Bob Mullaney, Superintendent of Schools here in Millicent. I'd just like to, first of all, thank families for all their patience and all they've been putting up with during this very unusual school year. I'd also like to thank them for their advocacy for their students, and also the way families have adjusted their lives and their schedules to meet the requirements of school. I'm impressed all the time at the way that the procedures at Clyde Brown work, the way people are following the regulations in terms of drop-off and pick-up and all the other logistical things that have helped keep Clyde Brown running. And I'd like to thank Ms. Django, Ms. Malloy, and the staff at Clyde F. Brown, who have been so detailed in coming up with the plans and procedures that they're going to share with you this evening. So thank you very much, and I look forward to the presentation.
Thank you, Superintendent Mullaney. Again, welcome families. We have been looking forward to the day when we could have our youngest students back in the school building to learn and grow together, and the day is almost here. We want to thank you for your patience, your understanding, and your support as we have navigated yet another unprecedented year. You have made heroic efforts in this year as you've supported and encouraged your students in all settings so far, both remote and in hybrid. This has not been an easy task for you, and I just want to let you know how much I appreciate the work that you have done at home, helping to support our students. Your collaboration and contributions to the success of our students has been greatly appreciated. Thank you very much. And I'll go on to the next slide.
So the agenda for tonight is we are going to be reviewing first our timeline dates. Then we're going to go over our procedures, which include our arrival dismissal procedures, lunch and recess, safety guidelines, and cleaning protocols. We'll have a discussion about fully in-person students, and then a discussion about fully remote students, followed by a discussion for kindergarten, a discussion for Spanish immersion for grades 1 and 2. And then we have slides that include some of the question and answers that you have already sent to us. So we will be going over those as well. The timeline and dates. So today you should have received a family commitment survey that was sent out via your email. On March 5th, we are hoping that all families will have their responses submitted by then. So please send the family commitment survey in by March 5th. That's this Friday. On March 22nd, our remote families will be contacted, and we will be talking to you about any updates or changes that will be occurring. And on March 29th, students in grades 1 and 2 will begin 4 days in person, and our remote classroom will begin. On April 5th, students in kindergarten will begin 4 days in person.
And I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm anticipating tonight to be about 30 minutes, knowing that we may not get to all the questions that are submitted during this presentation, but we will provide a question and answer document for you after the presentation. So the planning for our K-2 students return, we began our phased approach to ensure our systems and procedures are meeting our safety guidelines as we increase our student population. And we have so far looking really good with those procedures. Everything has gone smoothly with our first round, which began on February 22nd, was our first group that came in. And between February 22nd and March 15th, we'll have brought back approximately 200 students before we even begin the grades 1 and 2, K1 and 2 fully in. So a lot is happening over the next couple of weeks, but so far things have gone really well. During these weeks, any needed adjustments will be made to our systems and procedures to ensure the safety of our students and our staff. The data from the survey will be reviewed during this time between up until the 22nd. Classroom assignments will be made and or shifted as needed. So everyone will have all of that information by March 22nd. Some of the things that we've considered during this planning process are our entering and exiting the building for arrival and dismissal. Our arrival times, we're not seeing any changes that are needing to be made for that. Every parents and families have been so supportive. You're bringing your students in. We're getting the students out of the car quickly, efficiently, and in a nice manner, and students are going into the building in a very nice order. So we've not seen any need for changes to our arrival. Dismissal, we have made some changes. We're going to be having 2 dismissal loops, and we'll go into more detail in another slide. I think in the question and answer, we'll revisit this again. But we have a maroon loop. The maroon loop is the loop everyone uses currently. So that will be for grades K1, 3, 5. We'll also have a gray loop, which will be on our upper parking lot, which is next to the baseball fields, and that will be for grades 2 and 4. So in the information that I had sent you, I put a little aerial shot and a little aerial video of that, just so that you could kind of see what we are intending, how we're intending to use that time. If you are not riding, if your student is not riding the bus currently, please consider registering for the bus. There is a wait list at this point. They are preparing for the influx of students that we're going to have, and they have increased seats on the bus, the availability of seats on the bus. So if you're not riding the bus and that's something you've thought about, please go ahead and register and get on that wait list. Our lunch and recess. Lunch, there will be no changes. If your students are currently eating in their classroom, they'll continue to eat in their classroom. If they're eating in the cafeteria, they will continue to eat in the cafeteria. So students with allergies, if we're bringing in students with more significant allergies, Mrs. Danahy will be connecting with families about those concerns for the allergies, but we've not had any issues with our current lunch in the classroom. Cleaning procedures are taking place before and after lunches, so that we've not had any allergy concerns to date, and we hope that that will continue. Recess, we are increasing the supervision during recess because of the number of children we are adding to recess time. Right now, we have one student in every, one teacher in every quadrant. With the number of students we will be adding, we will need to be adding some more supervision there. And right now we have, we're looking for 4 additional people. So if anyone is interested in helping us out during the midday with our lunch and recess time, we are still looking for people. Our safety guidelines and cleaning procedures, we will continue to maintain 6-foot distancing throughout the building, in our hallways. As students are arriving, we have monitors, teachers in the hallways, making sure that our students maintain that 6-foot distancing. Our paws are on the floor. We do replace those paws as needed, to just as that visual reminder for our students as they're walking in the hallways. The cafeteria is set up still with the desks. So if your student eats in the cafeteria, they're sitting at a desk, and it's the same desk every time for lunch. Our hand sanitizing, we have multiple sanitizers throughout the building, and they sanitize their hands as they're coming in the building, at the bottom of the stairs, at the top of the stairs. So when students are in and around the building, we are encouraging them to use the hand sanitizers as they're walking around. In the classroom, teachers are having students wash their hands before lunch, after lunch, and then at any other time during the day that they feel that that needs to be done. So students and staff are really trying to make sure that the hands are maintaining cleanliness. Our custodial staff has been phenomenal throughout this whole year. They are on a schedule for making sure that they're cleaning high-touch areas, doorknobs, and things like that throughout the day. So we have been very fortunate, everybody working together and following our guidelines, that we have had no in-school transmission here at CFB. And that's something that I'm very thankful for and proud of, because it's everyone working together to make sure that we're keeping each other safe. We will be hiring the remote teacher for grades 1 and 2 if we have the need. Our fully remote students would be going to the fully remote teacher, and reassignments would happen by March 22nd. Mr. Mullaney.
Yeah, just one thing on that slide, when you were talking about lunch, just a reminder to all families that breakfast and lunches are free this year. So anytime we can remind people of that, we like to do that. So thank you. Sorry for interrupting.
No, please. Thank you very much, because I have talked about that a lot, but it wasn't registering for right now. And yes, we do want to make sure that we're letting our families know that it is free right now, and will continue even with our all-in breakfast and lunch continues to be free throughout the rest of the year. Our fully in person, as Mrs. Malloy said just a few minutes ago, our family commitment survey did go out earlier today. It's going to be open from today until Friday, which is March 5th. We're asking families to commit fully to the in-person process which is below, or asking you to make a commitment to either fully in person or fully remote. But what we're doing right now is the in-person. So on Monday, March 29th, all students in grades 1 and 2 will begin attending 4 days of in-person learning each week. And I'm really excited about that. On Monday, April 5th, all of our kindergarten students will begin 4 days of in-person learning. So that will, by April 5th, we will have all of our students who the families commit to in-person learning in our schools and working and learning and growing together. Classroom spaces. So depending on the results of the survey and the class sizes, some classes may need to move to a new location within the building, and we would be looking at the STEAM lab, the music room, or the art room. If those need to shift, you will be notified in advance during the week of the 22nd if that needs to happen. As far as your teacher assignment, and again, depending on the results of the survey, some students may need to change classroom teachers. If we have a large number of remote students in one grade, a current grade level teacher may become a fully remote teacher and the students in that classroom may shift to a new teacher or new teachers. Right now, from the survey results we have received so far today, it looks like families are really excited to be coming back in, and we have had minimal, right now at this point, we've had minimal response for the fully remote opportunity. So right now, that's not looking like it may happen or may need to happen, but I just wanted to make families aware of it in case we do have a large number by Friday of remote students. We may need to make some adjustments and changes there.
And we do recognize that some families do prefer to have their children stay in a remote model due to family circumstances or other areas of concern. So we will be hiring a fully remote teacher for grades 1 and 2. Our family commitment survey, which is being conducted from today, March 1st, until Friday, March 5th, will help us to determine which families are committing to a fully remote model. The fully remote process will be as follows. Our fully remote teacher will be hired and a multi-age classroom will be created. Information for students will be sent out to families. This would include making sure that the child's Seesaw account, Google Classroom, and Classroom Zoom link were all connected to that remote classroom. It would be a classroom on its own with a new teacher. And that teacher will be committed to creating a classroom community for those remote students. So they would really be creating a nice classroom of their cohesive group of multi-age students. The remote students would still continue to have unified arts. That includes PE, art, music, and FLES. If any students in that remote classroom receive current intervention services or IEP services, such as reading and math or IEP services, those would still continue in that remote classroom model. And the fully remote students would begin with their new teacher on March 29th. As Mrs. Django mentioned earlier, we would be informing parents by March 22nd more about the fully remote classroom and providing all of those access to those opportunities so that students would be ready to go on March 29th with their new teacher in their new classroom. Students in kindergarten. So in-person students will attend 4 days of in-person school in the building, and their schedule would remain the same as it is currently. Any fully remote students would continue to Zoom into their classrooms as they currently do. And this would be supported by a designated staff member at each classroom. Superintendent Mullaney explained at the school committee meeting recently that the support staff in the classroom might be working specifically with the students who are on Zoom, while the classroom teacher might be supporting some students in the classroom, and then they might switch. So the support staff might be working with the students in the classroom, where the classroom teacher might be working with the remote students who are fully remote. And then there will be times when the fully remote students will be Zooming into the classroom as they do currently. Kindergarten students will remain with their current teacher unless there is a significant change to the number of families choosing to be fully remote for the remainder of the year. If that were to happen, then as Mrs. Django mentioned, we might be looking to make one of those classroom teachers a fully remote teacher and do some shifting. But as she also mentioned, what we're seeing as results coming in currently, we're not anticipating that situation or that change. We also don't anticipate any kindergarten classrooms changing location.
Okay, Spanish immersion in grades 1 and 2. The in-person students will attend 4 days of school in the building beginning on March 29th, and the schedule will remain the same as it has been. Classroom location, depending on the results of the survey and class size, some classrooms may need to move to a new location within the building. As I mentioned earlier, with our first and second grade groups, we may be using the STEAM lab, the music room, or the art room for this. Fully remote students will continue to Zoom into their classrooms as they currently do. We don't have enough students to have a fully remote Spanish immersion teacher at this point, and the fully remote students will be supported by a staff member designated to each classroom. First grade classroom will have a designated support staff member for Spanish, and the second grade classroom will have a designated support person for Spanish in their classroom. Like Mrs. Malloy said, to help support, the classroom teacher may be working with some students, the support person may be working with the remote students, and then they may flip back and forth so that both students in school and remote are receiving direct instruction from the classroom teacher. So that concludes the presentation portion of the information that we wanted to share with you. As many of you began providing questions for us online over the weekend at the email address we gave you, we started compiling these and putting them into the slides for you so that you would have them. We'll go through those now, and then Mrs. Malloy will check our email address just to see if there have been any additional questions. Again, all of this is going to be recorded and shared with the community, the CFB community, and you, any additional questions that we received that we did not answer tonight, we will do a question and answer document and share that with everyone. So the first, we tried to categorize these questions into groups, so it may not be perfect categorization, but we'll start with transportation. The question is asking if a son rides the bus currently, is he guaranteed a seat on the bus? And yes, current students who are currently riding the bus will have a seat for the additional days that they are attending school, and we will make sure that that happens for you. If your child is not currently registered or riding the bus, you may sign them up at the address listed there. You also may go to the Mills Public Schools website, and there's a transportation pull down window that you can go on and register your child there as well. There is a waiting list, but again, they're reshuffling routes and assigning students to their seats. So it may not be a waiting list forever, but there is certainly one there right now. Another question about transportation is asking if a child rides the bus one way or get off the bus at a different stop. We're not able to do one-way riding just because of the seat assignments that we have to follow. Each child has a designated seat on the bus to and from school. So we're currently not able to do any one-way or dropping off at a different location because each student does have a specific seat assignment on the bus. There was a couple of questions about the order of the return that we're doing and why we did not prioritize kindergarten in this return. The order began with the request from the first and second grade teams asking us, can we get our kids back in? Can we get our kids back in? So that was where we first had the interest. And then in our working group of educators, we agreed that this made the most, this was the best place to be the most successful for beginning this. Additionally, in Massachusetts, children are not required to attend kindergarten. It was a hard decision because we know that kindergartners struggle online, and we were able to move up our dates to try and get everyone in sooner, just so that they've got more time in the classroom with our teachers.
There was a question about the state mandate. And whether if the state mandate did not exist, would we still be opening this year or having students return fully in person for the classrooms? And the answer is yes. Plans to bring back students in K-2 has actually been in process since late November. So this is a process and a discussion that we've been doing for many months here at Clyde Brown with our working group of staff and determining ways with the administration on how to get students back quickly and safely. Breakfast and lunch. Is hot lunch available to all students? How does it work? Will lunch and snack continue to be in the classroom? And Mr. Superintendent Mullaney, here's the answer to that question that you also mentioned that he just said a few minutes ago. Breakfast and lunch are free to all students for the remainder of the year. Students who wish to order lunch will let their teachers know what they would like. And then it is either brought to their classroom at lunchtime, or if students are in the cafeteria, it is brought over to their space. Menus can be found at millis.nutrislice.com. And breakfast and lunch will continue to be available also for all remote students. Breakfast and snack will continue to be in the classroom if that is where they currently are located. And what is the plan for children with food allergies? Do they eat in the classroom? Mrs. Django also mentioned this earlier. Yes, children with allergies have been eating in the classroom. And if that is specific to your child, the school nurse will be coordinating this with specific families.
So the drop off and pickup, I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the presentation, but there was a specific question about how we expect it to change, or the impact and staggered times. So we are not anticipating any arrival changes. Dismissal changes have been made. We have 2 dismissal loops, as I mentioned earlier. The excuse me, the maroon loop next to the building for kindergarten, 1st, 3rd, and 5th grade. And the gray loop is in the upper parking lot for grades 2 and 4. Full day kindergarten should be in line in the loop before 2:30 next to the building in the maroon loop. Grade 1, please do not come to the line before 2:35, as it does hinder some of our dismissal process if you try to get in line too early. So please come at 2:35 or later for 1st grade. 2nd grade, you should be coming at 2:45 or later, and you would be going to the gray loop, which is the upper parking lot next to our baseball fields. Half day kindergarten would be in the maroon loop, which again is right where you're picking them up currently.
And Mrs. Django, this will be starting next Monday, the 8th, correct?
Yes, we will begin our 2 loops on the 8th. We are working on a QR code system that we hope to get out to families in the next few weeks, so that we can just scan. Many of you are already posting your child's name on the window as you're driving up, and Mrs. Malloy is frantically texting, typing those names to get everybody in the correct line order. We've been working with our tech department to create a QR code that you would hang in your window. When you come by, we will scan it and it will automatically feed into a spreadsheet, so that we will know the order of everyone, and you will be able to, we'll just be able to get your children out much more efficiently and quickly. And just a reminder, we have closed off the extension or access extension road from the Spring Street parking lot up to the main road where we began lining up. We had to do this to make sure that we're not clogging up our system, as well as making sure everyone remains, we have students in the correct order, because if somebody slips into the line, it holds up the line, and because that child may not be coming out at that time, and you have to wait until your student does get dismissed for the day. So dismissal, there may be some backups and waits for a little bit till we get the system completely worked out with the 2 loops, but I am confident that once we get it down after that first week or 2, it will go just as smoothly as our current dismissal has gone. Thank you for all of your patience in the changes that we have to make. But I am confident that it will be nice and smooth once we have done it a few times. The next question is how does this impact pre-K pickup, and if you have an older student and a preschooler? If your family is in that situation, please go to the loop. Please get in the car lineup for the loop of the grade your older student is in, and pick up that child, and then go down and park in the Spring Street parking lot and wait until 3 to pick up your preschooler. Then you could walk up with your 2nd grader and pick up your preschooler, and then head back down. Preschool staff and I will be sending out some more information about this this week for you.
Distancing, the question came up, will 6-foot distancing still apply? And how many students can safely fit in a classroom? Yes, at this point, we are still following the 6-foot distancing and it does still apply. And we can fit approximately 18 to 20 students in each current classroom with 6-foot distancing. Preschool, why does this increase not include preschool? And at this time, the early elementary grades have been prioritized by the state. Cleaning protocols, our classrooms sanitized at the end of the day and our desks wiped down. Yes, classrooms are sanitized and desks are wiped down. How often are hands washed? Hands are washed. They also sometimes use hand sanitizer before and after eating, and at other times whenever a teacher feels that hand washing is needed throughout the day. Also, when children use the bathroom, we have a limited number of students in the bathroom, and they also wash their hands when they are exiting the bathroom. This came up, this is a question that came from many families. They were wondering about extended day and will we be offering before and after school programming? Not at this time. We did survey families a while ago and the numbers of families interested in extended day were fairly small. So at this time, at this point in time, we are not offering extended day programming.
Superintendent Mullaney, is that something that could be revisited if there is significant enough interest?
Yes, I think it is something that, depending on interest, we could revisit. But as Ms. Malloy said, at the time the survey went out, the response was pretty small. But yes, something we could look at.
Another questions have come up about mask breaks. How often do we have mask breaks at school? Excuse me. There are at least 2 mask breaks at school per day. They're getting a mask break when they're eating their lunch, when they're having snack. Sometimes teachers in the nice weather are taking students outside for a mask break, but there are at least 2 mask breaks per day. The dates of the return, people were wanting to know when they will be returning. First and second grade students will be returning on March 29th, and kindergarten students will be returning, or will not be returning, but will be beginning the 4 days of in-person learning on April the 5th. Several people had questions about placement. Will students be kept with their current teacher? And again, this depends upon the results of the commitment surveys. If a large number of families choose to be fully remote for the remainder of the year, teacher assignments may need to be adjusted. Another question about placement was, is my child is currently remote. If we remain remote, will she be with her current teacher? If that student is in 1st or 2nd grade, we are hiring a fully remote teacher for those students. If you are in kindergarten or Spanish immersion, you will remain with your current teacher. If we are currently remote and choose to return, can my child enter 2 days per week and then 4 days? On March 29th, all 1st and 2nd grade students will either be fully remote or fully in person. We will no longer have a hybrid option for students at that point. A question came up about pool testing and wanting to know if our district was going to opt into batch or pool testing, and if not, why. Right now, we are not going to be doing pool testing. Given the amount of cases we have, it may not be the best use of our resources, both financial and human resources at this time. Students who may need to quarantine or who are ill. So we've had a couple of questions about that too. If a child is fully in person in the classroom and needs to quarantine, how will that occur? And then what if my child is not feeling well? Students who need to quarantine will be treated as if they were medically unable to come to school. Packets of work will be sent home, and staff will be available to support the student during the week. Students would not be Zooming into their regular classrooms. If your child is not feeling well, we would hope that you would keep him or her home from school and call them out as a regular sick day. So this is going to get a little bit more like typical school for our all-in students. There was also a question about movement and rules. Will students be more limited in their movement, and will there be additional rules? And at this time, we're not anticipating any more movement limitations than we have currently. We're going to maintain our distancing. Our routines are changing, and at this point, we're not anticipating on adding any additional rules. Children have been very respectful and responsible in making sure if they're getting too close, they're stopping and waiting or backing up. Occasionally, someone will need a reminder to stay a paw apart, but they're immediately correcting that closeness. So I have been extremely impressed with our students. So I'm not anticipating any additional movement limitations or rules being added at this point. So I know Mrs. Malloy was checking our emails for questions. Again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to join us for this presentation. If you have additional questions, please do not hesitate to email them. We will be monitoring that email address and creating the document to share out with everyone. This was recorded tonight, so we will also be including this presentation in our next Family Bears Den that will be going out on Wednesday evening. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
And we do have some questions, Mrs. Django, that have come in since our presentation started.
Yes.
One of those questions was asking about fully remote students in Spanish immersion, which we actually had a slide on a little bit earlier. So when that individual is interested in reviewing the presentation, they'll learn more about that. But just to recap really quickly, Spanish immersion, fully remote students will continue to Zoom into their classroom, and that would be supported by a support staff member who will be in addition to the classroom teacher. The second question, actually, we've gotten a couple of these, which is no surprise, is what are we doing for students in grades 3 through 5? And given the state guidance that has recently come out, how will that impact students in grades 3 through 5? So I will toss that out to Superintendent Mullaney or Mrs. Django to answer.
Well, I'll give a general, and then if Ms. Django wants to be a little more specific for Clyde Brown, we are certainly looking at grades 3 through 5. Right now, we don't have the specific guidance or regulations of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. Last week, the governor and the Commissioner of Education outlined a plan that Commissioner Riley is going to propose to the Board of Elementary and Secondary Education. That plan hasn't been presented yet, so we don't know the details, and it hasn't been approved yet. So we're waiting to see what happens there. Certainly in the meantime, we have simultaneous to all the plans that were discussed this evening, we've been increasing in-person learning for identified students, students with special needs, IEPs, 504 plans, English learners, students receiving tiered supports. We've been prioritizing those students in grades 3 to 5 to get them more in-person learning. And we certainly will, we are awaiting this specific proposal of the Commissioner of Elementary and Secondary Education to see what our next steps would be there.
And I have nothing else to add. And I can agree with Superintendent Mullaney that we have been trying to add additional students in those grades. We are not yet making plans for bringing them in fully, but we will be following the state's guidance there.
We have another question about half-day kindergarten. If a family had chose to have their child be in half-day kindergarten, can they now move to full-day kindergarten?
I would say right now that I would request everyone to remain in their current placement. Just because we've got so many balls in the air right now, I would not be opposed to considering that once we get through all of these transitions. I would certainly be open to having a conversation with families about that. But right now, I'm going to ask that everyone remain in place, and then we can visit again once things settle down. We will absolutely have that conversation with families who are interested.
The last one that just came in is about extended day, and if we could please look at extended day and send out a survey to see if families would be interested in extended day now that they are back full 4 days of in-person learning.
Okay.
Other than that, I think there are a few questions that did come in that are pretty specific to individual families or students, and in that case, we would be responding to your questions via email. Otherwise, the questions that we hope we have included in the slideshow and presentation tonight and have been answered. And Mrs. Django, I know you wanted to talk about that question and answer document as well.
Yes, we will get that out to families. We will have what we have available in our Bears Den that goes out on Wednesday afternoon, so that people can read through those questions and answers. And as we get additional ones, we will just continue to update that document with the questions that you have and the answers that we can provide for you. So please look for that document along with this presentation to come out on Wednesday. I thank you very much for your time, for the questions that you have submitted. This has been a roller coaster ride for families and for the schools this year. So I appreciate being on this journey with you, and we will certainly make the most of it and do the very best for our students that we possibly can.
And I'd like to thank Ms. Django and Ms. Malloy for all the tremendous amount of work that's gone into this to make a very coherent plan. And we're just very excited to, to have this opportunity to get K-2 students fully in person. It's very exciting. It's a very important step forward for us as a district.
So thank you, everyone. And we will have this out to you in Wednesday's Family Bears Den. So thank you for your attention. Thank you for being here tonight. And I hope you have a wonderful evening. Bye.